Mwinyi Haji Faki and Veronica Maina, together with Richard Onyonka, Senator Matinga, who is my chair of energy, Senator Mungatana, and Senator Eddie Okech. Because it was my first time, Honorable Speaker, in a mediation such as this, I honestly would not want to be in a different team other than this one. Because when we met the members of the National Assembly, they had also sent a very strong team, and they kept reminding us at every turn that many of them were PhDs and doctors and economists like the Honorable Makali Mulu, doctor, who kept reminding us that we may be lawyers, we might see certain things, but when it comes to figures and numbers, we need to take a back seat and listen to him. So it was a very interesting exercise, Honorable Speaker. But one of the things that we could agree upon, especially as a Senate, and as I said yesterday during debate on the President's State of the Nation address, it is very easy to agree on other things once you agree on principles. And Honorable Speaker, I can be very proud of the position that this Senate took, that there are certain principles we laid on the table from the onset of this mediation. The first principle, Honorable Chair, was that counties must never in any financial year receive money less than what they received in the preceding financial year. And we were able to convince members of the National Assembly on this important principle. Number two, Honorable Speaker, because of inflationary trends and other things that crop up, including growth in annual wages, there has always to be year on year an increment in the allocation to counties, even if it be marginal in exceptional years such as this, when we do not have a finance act in place. Honorable Speaker, the third principle that we agreed upon, we were able to convince our colleagues from the National Assembly, is that the shortfalls, any shortfalls in revenue, can never be borne by the county governments, because the national government has more headroom in terms of its budgeting. And the most important principle being, it is them who draw up these estimates. It is the National Treasury that comes up with these estimates, and you will remember that during that particular process, county governments have absolutely no role. So it is for them to make sure that if they project revenues and their shortfalls, that burden cannot be borne by county governments. And I believe, having agreed and set those three principles, it is going to be very easy going forward, Honorable Speaker, for us to agree on this process of division of revenue. Honorable Speaker, there was also a very interesting conversation because sometimes members of the National Assembly feel that we accuse them of not understanding the needs of the county governments and the need for them to serve the people. One of the things we agreed in this mediation was that there are no Kenyans who belong to county governments and Kenyans who belong to the national government. That all Kenyans belong to all these governments, the 47 county governments and the national government. And that in fact, your ordinary Kenyan, the people of Mathare, a voter in Mathare, does not care who comes to repair a bridge that has been damaged after a flood. They just want the bridge done. So this back-passing and blame just want work to be done. And it was interesting because that conversation was being had roads. Honorable Speaker, it is an acknowledged fact that there are certain classes of roads that belong to county governments or are the responsibility of county governments. And this tussle between the National Assembly and the county governments does not help anyone. Honorable Speaker, you live in Nairobi, and you all the time remind me that your children voted for me. They are complaining, Honorable Speaker, about the state of the roads in Nairobi. Everybody is complaining about the state of the roads in Nairobi, all across.
Senator Sifuna, I live in Meru, where you are. I live in Meru. By my children go to school in Nairobi and live in Nairobi. So
I'm guided, Honorable.
And all is guided Meru community that I live in Nairobi.
Honorable Speaker, okay, we are very proud as a county because we know we host all the senators wherever they come from. And complaints have been raised about the state of the roads in all of our areas. Honorable Speaker, in Kilibani, in Hurlingham, you go to Isili, the state of the roads in Pipeline, in other areas of Nairobi is so bad. And every time you bring this question up, the governors are always going to hide behind the dispute of the RMLF. In fact, yesterday, Honorable Chair, we had the opportunity to sit with the chair of the Transport Committee of the Council of Governors, the Honorable Governor for Wajir, Ahmed Abdullahi. And you know, during the mediation, the members of the National Assembly gave us as a Senate an assignment to take a message to the Council of Governors that if it were possible for them to sit down and have a discussion and try to mediate that issue out of the courts, it would be helpful to the common wananchi. I want to report to the members of this House and the members of the National Assembly need to know that we did take that message to the chairperson of the Transport Committee of the Council of Governors. But he was very skeptical, I have to say this, because he has said that this is not the first time this question of the RMLF was taken to courts, and the last time there was a conversation to withdraw the matter or to solve it amicably, it didn't go very well. So at least to the members of the National Assembly who sent us, who gave me that assignment to deliver the message, as a messenger, I've done my part, and I've also given you the feedback that we received from the Council of Governors. Honorable Speaker, allow me to also say that in the course of those proceedings, we in the Senate raised very serious objections about the separation of powers between the three arms of government. We want to continue to urge members of Parliament especially to remember that the law-making process and the budget-making process is a constitutional responsibility of Parliament. And we must never appear to cede that responsibility to any other arm of government, and especially not to the executive. Honorable Speaker, you will know that whenever we are handling a matter in this House, even the judiciary itself has taken a position of waiting for the process in this House to conclude before they can intervene. And when a matter is before the judiciary, we in Parliament as well don't touch it because of the sub judice rule in our own standing orders. Honorable Chair, therefore it was quite disheartening to hear pronouncements being made in the course of the mediation by members of the executive about this mediation and the figures that were viable or not viable. I want members of Parliament to remember that we swore an oath to defend the Constitution, and it is the Constitution that gives us, as Parliament, power to make legislation and power to also make the budget of this country. So that, Honorable Speaker, we should not essentially be one with the executive. In fact, sometimes I feel terrible for the leadership of the executive, because they are supposed to get ideas from Parliament and to be guided as well. But if we are a House that only waits for the President to say, we go left and we go left, we go right and we go right. If today he says this House is bad, we all clap and say it's bad. If he says we are now good boys, we all stand up and clap. It's not supposed to be like that. We are doing a disservice to the head of state. And I want to encourage him. I think now he knows. I think now the head of state, Honorable Speaker.
I cannot see an intervention on a point of order. Proceed, Senator Sifuna, I can't see.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, the point that I was making was that the head of state now, in this institution of Parliament, should note the voices to listen to. I think he should spend more time with Senator Onyonka. He might be able to guide him more better than some of the voices he's listening to in the House, because they are not telling him the truth. Honorable Speaker, let me conclude by saying that the mediated amount might not be pleasant to the Council of Governors, might not be what this House wanted, because I remember when we were dispatched to this mediation, we were given very clear instructions that we must not accept anything less than the 400 billion that we had passed. We had many objections ourselves, including myself, during debate of this particular bill. But I want to say that the purpose of mediation is not to get your way. The purpose of mediation is to have a conversation with people who hold a different view and to come to some form of middle ground. I want the House to view this as the Senate saving 7 billion shillings for devolution and not losing 13 billion from the 400 billion that we had been told by the National Assembly. So, Honorable Speaker, what we want to say as a committee is that we had opportunity for a robust conversation with our colleagues from the National Assembly. I have also had opportunity to meet some of them in committee, some of them like the Honorable DK, they call him DK. I had never interacted with him. I've come to realize that he's not a bad man, he's a good man. And we have learned a lot from each other. But one of the things we also continue to insist.
Who is DK?
Honorable DK is the Honorable David Kiplagat, Member of Parliament, MP for Soy. Yes, Honorable Speaker, let me just conclude and reiterate something that we said yesterday as well, that we must stick to the constitutional principles even when it comes to matters of public finance in this country. We want transparency, Honorable Speaker. Some of the things that were delaying even the process, we in the Senate were insisting on some transparency. For instance, we were asking if the finance bill of 2024 was supposed to raise an additional 380 billion. we need to be shown the programs for which this money had been planned, so that we see if we have lost the entire 380, which programs were there for devolution that we can remove. There was also this claim that the national government was reducing its budget or its allocation by 320 billion. We need to be shown those figures so that we are clear and nobody is playing their cards under the table. If everything is put on the table, it is very easy for us to agree. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to thank the House again for giving me the opportunity to be a member of the Mediation Committee, and hope that in future we will be able to grow the path of devolution year on year. With those many remarks, I second Honorable Chair.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 38 of 2024.